On my mark, for mankind, for machine kind, for Earth. I'm Anthony.
I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
Eric.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 148 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week we meet here to talk about comics. This week we have an action-packed issue. We are coming to the last issue of our club discussion on Wonder Woman Dead Earth with issue number 4, and then we'll jump into the weekly reviews. We're going to go all around the internet, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. And then over there in the news, we're going to cover our picks for Marvel and DC for the products coming out in November and beyond. Okay, so first up is Wonder Woman Dead Earth, issue number 4. Princess Diana of Themyscira left paradise to save man's world from itself. When Wonder Woman awakens from a centuries-long sleep to discover the Earth reduced to a nuclear wasteland, she knows she's failed. Marooned in a dark and dangerous future, Diana must protect the last human city from titanic monsters while uncovering the secret of this dead Earth and how she may be responsible for it. All right, this is the 4-issue Black Label series that is written and art by Daniel Warren Johnson, colors by Mike Spicer, lettering by Russ Wooten. Wonder Woman wakes up in an apocalyptic world. She woke up in the Batcave, and there was a group of people that were out there trying to survive. There's a city, like maybe like the last city standing, that's kind of being overrid by monsters. She wanted to make a trip to the Fortress of Solitude, and she came across the body of Superman with a giant hole. David will remember this. So if you're watching the video there, where that giant S is on David's chest, that was just a giant hole. And we eventually saw Wonder Woman go there, realize she's the one that caused that. We saw a huge fight with Superman and Wonder Woman. She ripped out the spine and skull of Superman's dead body, and she was basically ready to jump into issue number 4 here in a war against the Amazons. Her own mother, the Amazons, have been transformed into these mutant Hydra monsters, and they're basically are the ones that kind of caused this nuclear war on Earth, and everything's kind of coming ahead here in this final issue. So that is the overall kind of recap. Was there anything I missed? Any other details?
No, I think that sums it up pretty good. At the point that we get here, we've also found out that Wonder Woman caused a lot of this destruction. So while she's trying to help the people, she finds out that she caused them. There's some things that happen that she kind of turns against, mankind, and kind of comes back from that, and then finds out that she caused all this. And so it's kind of like this, like, can we trust each other kind of thing between, the survivors of the human race and Wonder Woman. And of course, at this point, what's left of the Amazons, I really can't trust the humans at all, because they caused them to turn into these creatures, and in some cases they just did crazy experiments and turned people into weird cat things. So yeah, that's kind of where we are at this point. Is the battle, is where the survivors of humanity are kind of faced against the Amazon Hydra creature things.
Basically a good excuse for Daniel Warren Johnson just to do what he does best and just draw gigantic sci-fi crazy alien monster creatures and that's what he does best, and that's what he does especially in this issue. Yeah, and I had mentioned at the start of the story how we saw that Wonder Woman had woken up in the Batcave, and we actually kind of go back to that moment in which Batman and the robot Superman, is there a name, a specific?
I don't think he had a specific name in this. He was just one of Superman's robots that basically is programmed. He's to kind of be Superman and yet not be Superman. Like he obviously knows he's a robot and things like that.
Yeah, and there's a big line here where Batman putting Diana into this stasis and saying that you may have broken the world, but I know you're the only one who can fix it. And that causes Batman in the Wayne Manor there just kind of pouring himself a drink and sitting down on the couch, because when we first saw him, we saw like the bat suit and kind of rotted away, and he's just laying back on the couch, and we see that moment where he basically sat himself there to die because he knew that after this big war that was going on, then that was pretty much it for him. All right, as we can kind of go around the internet table here, Katie, do you have any thoughts on issue number 4 or just the series in general?
I certainly do. Thank you for asking. So number 4 was excellent. It really gave me the ending that I was hoping for. It was really great to see Diana and the people at Camp New Hope resolve some of their differences and try and go forward into the future with a better relationship. It was really good that Diana was not forced to hurt her mother and did her best to reconcile that and make peace and ask for forgiveness. That was really good. I liked it a lot. It was good to see the battle that we've kind of been building up to and alluding to. I loved the ending. It was a really good ending for me, where I feel like I got a satisfying conclusion. Wonder Woman kept her word. Things are going to get better. It would be cool to see more, but I don't need it. I really liked it. This is what I really hoped for. I loved that Wonder Woman's character and all the themes about her belief in justice and hope and good and the inherent beauty and humanity played through even on this ugly apocalyptic landscape. Not saying Daniel Warren Johnson's art is ugly, just the reality of the situation is morally very horrible. I loved it. It was great. It gave me that feel of classic Wonder Woman in a setting like we really haven't seen her before. So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say. If anyone has not picked up this series or was waiting to get it in a compiled volume, definitely I really think you should do so. If you like Wonder Woman, you will like this series. So all good things. I'm really glad we read it and can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, this would definitely be something that I would double dip and buy a hardcover just to get that, whatever that format.
Me too.
It was so good.
Yeah, me too. And speaking of format, I read it digitally, which is a totally different experience than reading it physically. So I can't wait to pick up my beautiful 12-inch book because having done it with issue 3, it's a different reading experience and you're valuable from each format you read it in. But these artwork and these splash pages really do deserve to get seen in print. So I agree with you. Double dip, triple dip, just go for it. Very passionate about this book. Thank you for letting me speak about it.
Of course, and we always remember you don't double dip the chip, but you do double dip on Daniel Warren Johnson's Wonder Woman Dead Earth, or
Yes,
double dip the Chip Zdarsky.
Yes.
Jim, thoughts on issue 4 of the series in general?
Well, in general, the locations. We start out in the Batcave. We go to Themyscira, and then we go to the Fortress of Solitude. So we've seen the locations of the Trinity. So I was sure we were going to end up going to the Hall of Justice. But instead, book 4 takes place at a lighthouse on the coast someplace. And while it's never identified, I think we're in Amnesty Bay there. And I looked through it a couple times looking for anything that would identify Aquaman, seeing if he would show up or be any reference to Aquaman. So I didn't find that, but I still think that was Amnesty Bay.
I think I saw Aquaman's Speedo in the background in the battle scene somewhere. So maybe.
Okay, I'll have to check for that.
Yeah.
Other than that, the locations, we start out in Camp New Hope, and then at the very end, when we saw Themyscira, it was a dungeon, it was a dump, it was, broken down. Now we're back on Themyscira, but there's life coming back into it. And again, it's the characters from Camp New Hope in a lively setting. So we have a new Camp New Hope on Themyscira. So
Cool. David.
Yeah, the one thing that got me was the end of it, because I read the end, and you get to the end, the way it ends, I went, wait, I thought it was just 4 issues. Is there a 5th issue? Or is this the end, but it's setting up for the possibility that this could, there could be another part to this.
Wonder Woman Alive Earth, or maybe a better title.
Yeah. Wonder Woman Rebirth Earth, or I don't know.
Rebirth.
Rebirth.
And it's, yeah.
No.
Okay, I'm going to delete that from the audio. Make a note to delete that from the video. We're running with it. I'm going to pitch Jim Lee.
But yeah, I mean, it really does set up for there to be a future, whether that future finds itself into the pages of some new book, or if it's just, the future in this little world that Daniel Warren Johnson has created. But, and it's quite possible that that's all there is he ends it on this, that there is a new hope for the earth to be kind of brought back. So either way, that's good. This isn't something that I'd see as like an ongoing thing, but could I see this being a future, another mini series of some sort, kind of coming from this? I could see something like that, some other project down the road. But I could also see it as being, that's just the way that he wanted to end it, was, to sort of that open end, like there is hope for this dead earth.
Yeah,
maybe
I
an aftermath type book, or
so yeah. Any other thoughts at all? Or we all seem pretty positive on the experience. So I don't know if there's anything to say before we wrap it up on the dead earth here.
Oh, just you mentioned it too, but the monsters, that he draws, they're just so incredible.
Yeah,
you can tell that he grew up on like the 70s monster movies stuff,
Yeah, and if this is your first, let's say you're a Wonder Woman fan, and this is your first look at Daniel Warren Johnson, you'll get a lot of this where he does the art in Extremity as well as Murder Falcon. I'm a huge fan of Murder Falcon, and that I think both series really do fit the kind of tone here. And but yeah, it's hopefully this will get some more people to find out Daniel Warren Johnson's other work as well. If you came in as a Wonder Woman fan and you leave a DWJ fan, and still a Wonder Woman fan. Cool. All right. Well, I think that will do it then for the final issue of Wonder Woman Dead Earth. So our next club discussion next week, if everybody is ready for it, we'll possibly do Batman: The Adventures Continue, issue number 4. So look forward to that in the next week or possibly 2. But before that, we have to do some weekly reviews. All right. Save. Get this bad boy bagged and boarded here. I've been having a lot of the, it's been a little snug on some of the magazine size formats.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought maybe I was just, not being gentle enough and respecting it enough. So Yeah, I noticed that as well. Interesting.
Sometimes I'll switch out and I'll try like a different one, and sometimes it might just be like a slight different trim or something. But
Well, it's
Mhm.
possible. I mean,
Are
I think
there?
about it, even regular comic book, bags. I've run into that where I'm sitting there bagging some comics, and out of the same pack, all of a sudden they're getting a little tight.
Yeah.
Something about just the way that they got sealed up and whatever were just a
Yeah.
hair smaller, and all of a sudden they're snug.
Quite right. Are there bags and boards bigger than a magazine size? I have a few oversized magazines that I would love to put into a bag.
Not that I can think of.
Huh, interesting.
Kirby, have you ever seen bags bigger than magazine size?
At Chimera or whatever today, they had bags. They weren't called magazine, but they're bigger than that. I think they're more for like D&D style stuff.
Oh, that would actually be helpful. Cool. Thank you.
Because I picked up some silver and bronze age bags there today.
Nice. I've seen bags and boards for like people who collect like vinyl records and LPs and stuff. I've seen that size, but I mean, I don't know how well that would correspond to comic books. If you just want it in a bag, sure, but if you want it snug and preserved in a bag, maybe not.
yeah,
Interesting.
as a comparison, I have just so happen to have Mike Allred's Red Rocket 7, which are kind of done in
They're weird shaped.
vinyl size, but yeah, it's still let's do it the other way. Still, a little.
What you do in that case, Katie, is you take the book apart and you laminate the pages.
Oh, great idea. Excellent. Thank you.
And let Kurt watch you.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, Kurt can come over. I will buy a laminating machine, or we'll just really at work. They have a laminating machine, and Kurt can come over, and we'll just do my whole collection one long day, and Kurt will never speak to me again.
Just shrink wrap the whole thing.
Yeah.
And just because I have it here for all those Murder Falcon fans, I took some pages out of an Image Preview magazine and made a lampshade out of it. So.
Ah, groovy. I like that. That's cool. I love your creativity.
Yep, I figured that was a good way to use that up rather than just throwing it away. So.
Yeah.
So you can buy. What's that?
Murder Falcon does deserve a sequel.
Agreed.
I still want to read the first one.
All right, we will jump into the weekly reviews here. I'm going to cue it up. Recording audio, sound speeds, turbines of speeds, all that stuff. Okay, here we go. Welcome to the weekly review section. We're going to go all the way around the internet, talk about the books that we've been reading that are both new and old. I'm going to kick it off here with a brand new issue that I was excited to return to the shelves here, which is the Magnificent Ms. Marvel, issue number 14. All right. As Ms. Marvel recovers from a traumatic ordeal, she finds herself an unwilling martyr for a movement she hates. If she wants to reclaim her narrative, she'll have to wake up first. Okay, so this is following the events of the pre-pandemic release of the Outlawed #1, which was going to spin into this whole event that was going to happen in spring. And it seems like it's something that was kind of put on pause, and it looks like there's going to be some version of that that's happening this fall. So we have some comics that are going to be labeled with the Outlaw banner. And so in the Outlaw, we basically had these dragons attack, and the champions got together. All the young masked superheroes in Marvel got together to try to save the school from this dragon attack. And there were some big explosions, and there was a lot of people that died. There's a lot of, I think a lot of kids died. I think it was all like at the school. But one of the big things that happened was that Kamala Khan was inside the school, not as Ms. Marvel, and she was protecting people on the inside. Became one of the casualties, being hauled out to the hospital as Kamala Khan, and she's been in a coma ever since. And because of this being a big news thing, now there's a big movement going on that they want to outlaw, make it illegal for young superheroes to exist, basically, and they're calling it Kamala's Law, and they're using her as the namesake, even though they don't know she's Ms. Marvel, and she doesn't know this is happening because she's in a coma. And this whole issue 14 is dealing with her seeing her family and friends kind of dipping in and out of these nightmare scenarios and some very horrific things. This might be the darkest issue that has happened. There's a legacy numbering of 71 issues of Kamala's Miss Marvel series, and this is probably the darkest one yet, and kind of seeing how she sees herself as a hero and how that may hurt her family, her friends, and kind of putting them in danger, and her being part of this world and sacrificing her time with them to save the world and save Jersey City and things like that. So yeah, this is a real character study of her, as a bunch of those family members are actually visiting her at her bedside in the hospital while she's in a coma. So yeah, it's a lot of emotions going in here, but it is really starting to kind of re-spark that outlaw event that was going to happen earlier this year. Champions #1 is something that is coming out shortly, so that is something I'm glad. I wasn't sure some things were going to be on the chopping block because of the pandemic, but that's one thing that was just kind of realigned and now rescheduled. So this will continue in Champions #1, as well as Magnificent Ms. Marvel number 15. They didn't offer a checklist in this one, so I'm not sure if it's going to be as massive as a thing of, all right, now you got to get Nova number 17 and Miles Morales number 25, and then get Outlawed .51 and blah blah blah. So who knows where it's all going from here, but if you want to follow the story, if you missed Outlawed #1, Magnificent Miss Marvel number 14 would be a good start to check that out. So that is that. All right, we will jump over to David for the next one.
All right. So continue on with the back issues. On with Action Comics number 467. So some classic Superman. Not quite as classic as the Golden Age stuff I recently reviewed, but so this would actually be from January of '77. And here we have a story of Superman, where he's actually involving himself in politics. There's this country, the Republic of Borotavia, or whatever, it's a made-up name, so pronounce it however you want. But he's actually involving himself in this country's affairs because they are going and they're attacking other countries, and they actually even ask him, about getting involved, because Superman a lot of times is portrayed as like he won't go get involved in other countries' affairs like this. I think it's used sometimes as a way in storytelling to explain, well, why doesn't Superman just create world peace and all this stuff? But in this case, he does, and he explains that he's there on behalf of the United Nations as their emissary. So he goes in, he destroys a bunch of their equipment, and basically says that if they don't stop, he could do this to them. And then we just take a quick break for a Batman and Robin hostess ad, because you got to have your hostess ads in there.
All right.
Hostess ads are like one of those things that when I'm reading them, it's like it's the hostess ads that everybody remembers in the older comics, and I think they've had more recent ones too, but they always like incorporated your favorite superheroes or villains in a lot of cases in your Hostess ads. So they're always a joy to go back and read these old Hostess ads.
He's here.
I'm sorry, I'm being interrupted here by other David. So
Welcome back to the club.
did you want to, yeah, welcome back to the club. Did you want to review something?
No, I can't stay long.
Oh, you can't
Is
stay
it
long.
Someone, weren't you expecting someone?
Yeah, can you hold on just a minute, or have him hold on? I'll finish this up and I'll be up there. All right, sorry for the interruption.
Am I supposed to invite
That
you?
was just a little Hostess commercial.
I'll be right there. Anyways, so Superman gets through dealing with this other country, and then we cut to the scene of a couple of guys that look like they're wearing some sort of space get-ups. You can see where the helmet would go on, and they're watching Superman on a monitor. Superman is back as Clark Kent, goes back to work at the news station where he was a newscaster. And suddenly he sees a thing that there's this big tidal wave coming, and he's got to make his excuse on why he's got to get out of there. So quick thinking, I don't know how blowing out a light he thinks is going to cover him long enough to go halfway across the world and save a bunch of people and whatever. My first thought is, oh, he's going to do this at super speed, but it actually takes him quite a while of doing it, and they never go back and explain what his excuse was for not being there when the lights came back on.
Oh, I had to go get another Hostess fruit pie.
Yeah, that was probably it. And then at the same time, they like replayed a previously recorded newscast and said, I guess that was good enough. So he's going through, he's trying to stop this this tidal wave, and he's using a shockwave to do it. And it explains in the story how he's doing this is, it goes through and it explains at the same time that this internal vibration thing that he's got is also how he keeps from creating sonic booms every time he flies off into battle or whatever. And well, that of course comes up again because you find out that it's actually the villains in this from some satellite out in space who are using Superman's own power to create the tidal waves to begin with. So they had to explain Superman's powers and how they work in order to explain how the villains are able to use them. The villains are doing this because they wanted to extort a bunch of money from the world to stop doing it, and then they would later blame it on Superman to get away with it. The question that raises to me is, these guys can afford to build their own big space station satellite in space, which costs more money than I would know what to do with. So they got the money to do that, but they need to do this in order to get money. So I don't know, just comics. But of course, Superman immediately figures out what's going on, knows exactly that it's happening from someplace in space, goes up, captures the bad guys, and finishes just in time to have a backup story with Crypto the Superdog, where he has to defeat Mr. Choose your own pronunciation. It's always been a point of conversation back at the shop and whatever is how we pronounced it. For me, it was always Mr. Mixelplick. Mixie's using magic to create this giant eraser where he's literally wiping Metropolis off the map. Superman has gone to a Justice League meeting, so he's not around. So Crypto has to protect the city and stop Mr. Mixelplick from erasing the city. In the end, Mr. Mixelplick decides that he's just going to say his own name backwards in order to avoid having Crypto bite him. So the world is once again safe thanks to Superman and Crypto the Superdog.
Alrighty. Then we are going to jump over to Kirby for the next one.
I checked out Nexus because I had the Nexus Madman special. I wanted to know more about this character because I didn't really know nothing about Nexus. And so the few that I read were the 4-shot run of The Wages of Sin, God Con number 1 and 2, and of course the Nexus Madman special. And I'm going to give you the concept of Nexus from the God Con books. Nexus is the story of Horatio Hellpop, given immense power by an insane entity called the Merc, and chosen as the conscience of humanity, an executioner of mass murderers. At first, Nexus was forced to go after his targets by horrendous, realistic dreams, tortured nightmares of each murderer's victims. If Horatio didn't comply, the Merc made his dreams so intense they could kill him. The original Merc was so nuts, his own people came and took him away. Another Merc, GQ, offered to continue supplying power without nightmares if Horatio would agree to a quota of executions per year. Horatio lives with his lover, Sundra Peel, on a moon called Lum, an experimental community founded by refugees and outcasts from dozens of civilizations. His 2 daughters, Sheena and Scarlet, live with their mother, the scheming Ursula Imada, queen and plenipotentiary of Proxion. Nexus's pals include Dave the Wise, currently making bicycles on his home planet of Thune, Dave's son Judah the Hammer Maccabee, aka Fred, who's a professional wrestler and all-around great guy, the Felid Jill DeSmoot, Sundra's business partner and friend, erstwhile revolutionary and current President Tyrone, and the ubiquitous huckster Whooper. I still not fully sure what Nexus is all about. I get the concept of him being an executioner and all that, but some of the character lines and stuff just a little bit confusing, going back and forth. Like this, I thought would be an ongoing storyline, but each one pretty much ends up being its own story, talking about his different friends. Like this one focuses on the Booper. The second episode, they end up resurrecting the king, Elvis, and getting into some mind control stuff with that. And then this one gets into the wrestler's character, and then it also comes back to a separate Nexus storyline. They're very interesting. The God Cons, basically a bunch of deities, gods get together in the Nexus's realm, and of course fights break out between Satan, God, Buddha, and all that. He's trying to figure out what gods are that he's supposed to be worshiping and all that and stuff. It's a very strange but yet interesting story. And then Madman, basically the Booper finds a Madman action figure, then finds another little thing that basically activates a giant robot. And then they're like, well, it was found around Madman action figures, so Madman must have something to do with this character. So they do some little spell stuff and resurrect Madman and bring him into this. And yeah, these are interesting. I'd like to know more. In this one also with the Madman, they also come back to Elvis, and Bobo hops out of a coffin and Michael Jackson basically takes over the robot's body. It's very interesting. Comedic storyline, I should say. But yeah, he is an executioner, does his job. I like how he does his job and just focuses on it. if something falls in his lap, like one girl slave gets tossed to him as a play toy, as if you like to say, or whatever, and he instead saves her and takes her away from there, but he doesn't save everybody else that he could because he wants to focus on his mission, because of course if he doesn't execute enough people, he gets weaker and weaker and weaker, so he has to successfully complete so many executions, otherwise he'll lose all his powers. So yeah, it was very interesting.
Alrighty. Then we are going to jump over to a galaxy far, far away with our Jedi ambassador, Katie.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited. That is a great job title. Okay, this week I have Star Wars Jedi Academy Leviathan. This is written by Kevin J. Anderson, a well-known name in science fiction and space fantasy. And basically this is 15 or 20 so years after the Battle of Yavin. The peace has been made with the Empire. And who do we fight when there's no Sith left to fight or there's no Empire? Well, now the Jedi are going to fulfill their original purpose, which is to go out into the galaxy and be scholars and peacekeepers and mediators and guardians of peace and justice. And so there is a mining planet that sends out a distress call before being no more contact coming from them. They're all blacked out, and it is intercepted at the Jedi Temple on Yavin 4. And so Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, sends out several of his best students, including Kip Duran and Dorsk 82, and they go to the planet to do some exploring, find out how come this distress call came out, and while they are there, they find some giant monsters. And Kip is very overpowered, I've always found, but he's able to fight one of these monsters totally on his own, and Dorsk 82 is smart enough to go, this is nuts, and he goes and calls for help to get some more Jedi to come out there, including Streen and Kirana T. And while they're there, they find two other additional monsters, the Leviathans of the title, that they need to fight, because the monsters are the ones that wiped out the mining colony that was there, and the souls of the miners and their families are trapped within these monsters. So in order for the souls to be at rest, they have to fight the monsters. And they do. It's pretty epic. There was one that was like hiding in a volcano. That was awesome. And yeah, the miners are put to rest, and they put out a bulletin saying, don't come to this planet anymore. Every time someone tries to come here and do work, they get eaten by these creatures, and the creatures just want to be left alone. So everything works out mostly okay. The reason I picked this up is because I wanted a bridge between the New Republic books and the New Jedi Order books that I've started reading, and felt like there was a lot of missing information. Lucas spent a lot of time building up the Jedi Academy, and so it was really good to see these characters that actually came from some previous novels Kevin J. Anderson wrote come into comics, and we see them go out and actually be Jedi. So it was fun, very easy to read, not too deep or anything. You don't need to know a whole ton about these characters or books to appreciate it. So just have a good old space adventure in a galaxy far, far away with Star Wars Jedi Academy Leviathan.
So then I have a question on this, because
Sure.
I've read the novels you're speaking of, the Jedi
Sure.
Academy trilogy, because I remembered Kip Duran, Dorsk 81, who, spoilers, dead.
Yep. Yeah.
So is this canon within the new Star Wars universe, or does the expanded universe still exist, like, within its own bubble?
So this is not canon with the new universe as of 2014. This is from the EU. So this is within the EU bubble. So if you are interested in reading the EU timeline, those books would fall within that. If you are interested in stories about Rey and Poe and Kylo Ren and Finn, you will not find them here. So this is the old stuff.
Okay, because I remember reading a lot of the Kevin J. Anderson novels, like Darksaber, and back then I really loved them. So
yeah, no, they're a lot of fun, and he is actually a really good writer. So you might enjoy this series if you liked those characters and what he did with it. He also, if you're interested, wrote a lot of the Tales of the Jedi stuff too, which a lot of people really enjoy. So,
let's take a look.
and those are going to be reprinted soon. But yeah, great question.
All right, cool. All right, then we're going to jump over to our Franken-Castle expert, Eric, for the next title.
Franken-Castle does not exist. But anywho. So I remember last time I did a review of Die, Die, Die. Now, it's been a while, so we've had a few more issues come out since then. And I need to comment on this because I think that Kirkman has been given a lot more creative freedom since he, basically put The Walking Dead to rest. The first series, it was kind of funny with its black comedy, but this one has gone off the rails, and I'd say I enjoy it in all the weirdest ways. For one thing, the guy who got his nose chopped off before, who was John, yeah, he's back now. See, because they found him in a Buddhist monastery. Also, you find out Senator Lipschitz has put a lot of her plans into motion. One of the most disturbing one that came in issue 10 was the failure of a contraceptive. Apparently, it sent a fertilized egg into the male, which would cause him severe pain. So he would get an abortion to try to settle the abortion debate for all, which I guess it works because now you can get abortions at Quickie Lube. But yeah, so she's been setting these plans into motion. It's just weird. Also, the bad guy from before, Senator Barnaby, he's on the run. You actually get to see him pick his nose. Now, when I say pick his nose, it's because it got chopped off in the first run, and he gets to pick it from a bunch of orphans who are glad to have it done because they need food. And like I said, the dark humor that has happened, or that has evolved in it, it's strange. I mean, it's a lot of things like what Garth Ennis would see in The Preacher. Plus, also, you get to see Sally. This is a toned-down version of what she gets to do in the book. And so, yeah, so you get to see the rivalry between the brothers, George, Paul, and John. Now, Ringo's not around because Ringo died as a quadruplet when he was much younger, because he wouldn't be an assassin. So, but yeah, I think that, like I said, The Walking Dead is gone. Robert Kirkman has been able to evolve, and I think this is good because he's not going to be, like typecast as the zombie guy anymore just by being able to do die, die, die. And I also like the character Lipschitz because you see, as her plans progress, she originally was supposed to be part of this, dark conspiracy that was supposed to make the world a better place. And, she decides to try to, get rid of the kind of people, you'd see running around in bulletproof vests at protests and stuff. She basically takes care of them, and now she's starting to come to terms, okay, am I becoming the thing I swore to destroy? So that's one thing I was worried about that might happen after reading number 9, and it seems that that's really starting to happen now. So, but yeah, this has been a good series. I hope it stays ongoing, but it looks to like something that can come to a definite end. But yeah, the art, it's colorful, vibrant, and really messed up. But it's just the fact that it's so weird that makes it nice. So yeah, so definitely, yeah. I don't know if the last issue is going to be, or the next issue is going to be the last one, but I've just become a major Kirkman fan just from this title alone. So.
All right. Okay, for my next review here, jumping over to DC Comics, this is Batman Detective Comics number 1026. As the Joker War rages on, the casualties are mounting, and the underground residents of Gotham City must deal with the devastating effects of the Joker toxin that's been pumped into the old city's tunnel system. Batman must risk everything to guide them to safety, but a familiar face has mobilized these forgotten souls to rise up in anger, and Killer Croc takes no prisoners. All right, this is sort of like a separate standalone done in one issue. Of course, it's existing within the Joker War. I'm not following that completely, just wherever it shows up in my books. And but yeah, this is a tale just kind of showing the effects of this Joker toxin going into the sewers, and there's a bunch of people that are being affected by it. Killer Croc is kind of snatching these people, and basically he thinks he's saving them, but in turn he's actually doing them more harm. You see a bunch of different mutations going on. You have a bunch of his new gang here in the sewers. You've got Ratty Riz, Hardback, Gup, Allie, Garter, and Bandit. For those video people watching here, I just got a little lineup there for Killer Croc's new sewer gang. So Batman is following these crimes leading to the sewer, finds out Killer Croc is down there kind of running his own little kingdom. He's kind of staying out of the way, but now Joker is kind of affecting, kind of seeping into his own plans of what he has going on. But this issue is focusing on Batman basically trying to talk sense into Killer Croc, and the fact that even though Croc thinks he's saving these people, Batman's trying to convince him that he's only making it worse. And it was a real interesting tale. I think it was a good representative of Detective Comics as a whole, something that I was very much a big fan of growing up, starting with Detective Comics in the late 80s, early 90s. And this just kind of really captured that vibe. Even though it is part of the Joker War, it exists as its own little detective tale. And yes, I really enjoyed it, and I think it had a nice little end to it. This story was called Monsters of Men. But yeah, this is the issue that is leading up to the milestone issue of Detective Comics number 1027, which of course is 1,000 issues after the fact of Batman's introduction into comics. Definitely a great way to, get another taste at that anniversary special. We've had Detective Comics 1000, but hey, now we can celebrate the number of 1,000 issues after Batman showed up, which I am pretty excited for that, because it has a bunch of, it's one of those oversized books. It has a bunch of talent coming together, tell a bunch of stories that you would normally get in like an annual or anniversary type of thing. I know Chip Zdarsky has a story in there that I'm very excited to see. He's been talking about that. So, but yeah, that has a nice lineup. Yeah, I think they're actually, here we go. It's 144 pages of all new content, only $10. So normally you would get, one of those like 80-page giants for that price. So they're giving a little extra story there, and they got a pretty amazing lineup of crew there. And it also includes a new story spinning out of the Joker War. But if you haven't read Joker War and you just want a single Batman tale of him investigating these crimes, going into the sewer, dealing with Killer Croc, this is a good single issue of Batman to pick up. So Detective Comics number 1026.
I also read that.
Yes.
And I want to add, there's like editor's notes to Killer Croc's story that at one point recently, he was actually the crime boss of Gotham. And that story is told in DC Monsters, which was, I believe, a mini-series that maybe 6 issues. And I've put that on my wish list, the look for list now to check that out, because that seems like a interesting premise to check out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was something that I'm trying to think if Damon read that. Kirby, did you read that one at all? The DC's, what was it, Monsters something?
Monster Planet.
Gotham Monsters.
Gotham Monsters. Maybe it was Damon that had picked it up. I thought maybe somebody did, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's gives a little extra backstory. So cool. All right, we will jump over to David for the next one here.
All right. I know not that long ago, Jim kind of reviewed Kingdom Come. I just recently reread it, and I thought I would kind of give my take on it. And I looked at it as kind of a Superman story. I mean, it involves a lot of superheroes, and really what it is it is kind of tackling 90s comics, really. The types of characters that were coming about in the 90s versus your classic superheroes. But it's kind of centers around Superman and his first kind of turning his back on the world because he didn't like where it was going, and he didn't like that the public had kind of turned against him and voted for the other way of doing things. And when that kind of came around and bit everyone, then Wonder Woman approached Superman about, okay, it's time to leave your solitude and come back to the world, and we've got to do something about this. And he listens, and he comes back, and this is interesting for me, having recently read some of the Golden Age Superman and comparing the differences in his personality and the way that he does things in Golden Age versus the more modern takes on Superman. And you can kind of see a little bit of both worlds in the Kingdom Come Superman, which does make sense because a lot of these characters and everything, there's really definitely some Golden Age influence in the characters that were chosen. And so it's not really a surprise to see that. So not only do you get all of the beautiful artwork, from Alex Ross in here, but you get a great story that takes on, sort of the dark age of comics versus the more classic way of doing things. And you see this different side of Superman where, he goes from turning his back on everybody, and he's got his reasons for doing that, but he goes from turning his back to coming back and sort of in part because of Wonder Woman's influence, coming back very strongly and strong-handedly, taking on all of these other characters, and he approaches all the heroes of the day that aren't that he agrees with, and they're doing things his way, and he kind of gets them to form the Justice League again. But then he goes to all these other characters and basically gives them the choice of either joining him and doing things his way, or being locked up and re-educated. So it's not a version of Superman that you would normally see. I guess it really is goes a little bit more towards. I'm trying to think what the name of it. The video game where Superman is kind of like Superman becomes more or less the villain, or that's been done in a couple other Superman stories or Justice League stories.
Injustice.
Yeah, Injustice. Thank you. That was a hard name to think of. I can't believe I didn't get that one. But sort of the same thing, and it's that same thing here. You get Lois Lane being killed with the Joker being involved, and him reacting to these types of things that have happened. and you get a darker version of Superman. When he's faced with changes in the world that, being the big blue Boy Scout doesn't necessarily take care of. What do you do? And so it becomes kind of interesting to see a version of Superman where he's trying to get everybody else to do things his way, but in doing things his way and trying to force everybody to do things his way, he is kind of almost going a little bit their way in doing it. The difference is all these other characters, they've stopped caring about the civilians and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what happens to them. There's casualties and things like that, and it doesn't seem to matter to them. So that is one thing that, even with him going a little darker and everything, that he is still able to be a hero and not be somebody who loses sight of his goals. He just gets a little bit darker on how he takes them on. And again, the way that Wonder Woman is used in here, in a lot of ways, she's responsible for him making the decisions and going the direction that he does go into. So Wonder Woman is definitely an important part of the story as well. But that was my thought on it, was just taking a look at it as being kind of a Superman story versus a Justice League story, which is how I've read it in the past and looked at it. But I just kind of read it almost with different eyes this time around.
All right. Then we will jump over to Kirby for the next one.
Just a quick note for Nexus before I jump on this. I forgot to mention the reason Frank Castle was brought back to life and stuff is because Nexus happens like 500 years in the future. So Frank is gone. So
yeah. Thank you.
An example of a cover that I buy because I like the cover. I got Dark Horse Presents number 100 because of Madman on the cover. It says number 5 of 5. I'm guessing that's 5 different covers. I don't know why it would be 5 of 5 other than that, because it's not a run-on. It basically takes the same concept of like Weird Tales, Strange Tales, Tales from the Crypt, a bunch of just little stories all thrown together. The first story is Monkey Man and O'Brien. I was the alien, whereas alien beast appears, and Ann and Monkey Man O'Brien help the military work the case, take out the creature. Los Malcriados. Not sure how you really say that, but that one's about one half of the twin tattooed wonders of the world passes away, and the other freak show members that are with him, they're worried about other circus folks that are going to come after him for any nest egg that's available, and it gets into a storyline about how the freak show head guy burnt the tents down and tried to kill a bunch of the freaks and stuff like that. You can get deeper into the story with that. And then the third one was Frankenstein P.I., Butcher's Night Out. That one's basically about 2 prison escapees get out of prison. They go through rivers and tunnel and stuff, and then once they're out there, the one that set up the escape kills the one that helped him escape because he couldn't swim, so you just need someone to get him through that part and stuff. And then they eventually, he comes across a guy in a car taking a leak, and he goes up behind him to kill him, and it ends up being Frankenstein P.I., and you can basically set the story up in your mind from there. Fourth story in here is Milk and Cheese, Alcoholics Anonymous. Milk and Cheese have a serious alcoholic problem and need to go to AA. But they're on the search. They woke up. They've been a half hour without booze, and they got to hunt down alcohol and get the party on. So you've read them before, you can imagine how that goes. And then the last storyline is Pan Fried Girl, a woman and a talking dog. They cross vast desert wastelands and stuff, while a tax collector follows them with a gas mask on and stuff. Just keeps track of what they're doing because she must have done something with her taxes, put some stuff down that they didn't believe she was actually getting and stuff. And they get to a town. He's working on his audit on her. And then it's kind of like they come across other creature people and stuff like that. It's kind of like a cross between Rey and BB-8 from Star Wars combined with Island of Dr. Moreau. It's just very strange. It's all black and white. Interesting stories, fun stories. If you're into that type of thing, Dark Horse Presents, I know there's tons of them, so I'm assuming they're all like that with just a bunch of little stories in them. But yeah, check them out. And if you can, get the Madman covers.
Cool. All right, time to jump over to the Franken-Castle superfan Eric for our next title.
Them's fighting words. Anyway, so another title I brought is another new one being put out by Image, Nailbiter Returns. Now, this is actually a continuation from, I guess, Nailbiter, which I guess the synopsis of that was there was a town outside of Portland called Buckaroo that produced an inordinate number of serial killers. And one of them was the Nailbiter, whose trademark was biting the nails of his victims after killing them. But yeah, so I guess in the previous one, the Nailbiter had helped, take care of the other serial killers that had popped up from Buckaroo, and then all of a sudden disappeared, assumed dead. But the story opens up. You basically see someone, you don't know who it is, but basically he's trying to help get something out of someone's eye. And you run into the daughter of the Nailbiter, who named Edward Charles Warren, daughter's name Alice. And, it starts out from her point of view. But she gets involved when the agent who was in the previous series, Agent Finch, finds her and basically shows him, no, your dad's alive. And meanwhile, we get to see some other serial killers like the clown car killer, who basically just runs over people dressed as a clown. Crossbones, not like the Marvel Crossbones, but basically it plays out like a horror movie, and it uses a few cliches that some horror movies use, where you think you're about to see a killer, but it turns out no, it's not. Then something else happens where you're like, oh great, now it's the real killer. Then it turns out to go completely sideways in the reveal later. But if you like horror, and especially 80s horror where you get cheesy murderers, stuff like that, Nailbiter Returns is definitely worth a read. And I'm going to have to, once this series ends, I'm definitely going to have to look back at the old series, because it did a good job of piquing my interest.
Cool. And I do have to admit I made a critical mistake by making those jabs at Franken-Castle, because for your next comic, I have it in the mail yet. I have not received it. So in order to avoid spoilers, I am going to put my earbuds in, and I have queued up The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota. So you can go ahead and talk about the next book and then just wave your arm when you're done. So I don't want to hear anything about it. So.
Okay. So I picked up Lonely Receiver by Aftershock. And Aftershock has had lots of really good standalone stories. And this one I just read the synopsis and the previews, and I'm like, okay, I need to see this. Starts out, in the not so distant future. No, this is not Mystery Science Theater 3000. But the main character, Katrin, she goes through a breakup. Her girlfriend leaves her, and she ends up buying what's called an LPOS, which is essentially a cell phone that also turns into a life partner. It gets into your head. It gives you haptic feedback, so you see this person in front of you, this program. It gets built for you, and it's like basically the person who's designed for you to love and for them to love you. And you're able to feel it. You're also able to, basically it's like going to sleep and have this induced dream where you're actually able to spend time with this person. It's called going to the garden. Semi-pornographic though. But anyway, it starts out where, Katrin goes through the breakup. She builds her LPOS named Rian. And time passes, like about 10 years on, you find out that in this time, Rian has her own personality where she's gotten a job. She becomes somewhat of a therapist. And throughout this, it turns out like throughout, their time together, Rian has changed, and she's still part of this much greater AI because a lot of other people have this LPOS. And, this central database, it's talking with other people. And over time, I guess this caused her to change. And, the major I guess the focal point of the story is that Rian and Katrin have a fight, and then out of nowhere, Rian just poof, disappears. And this has been like a person to Katrin, and she has, basically she has a life. It's like the two are intertwined, and all of a sudden, boom, she's gone. And that's the setup of the first one. So like many of Aftershocks comics, I have to keep buying them because they've already hooked me, and I just, I have to see where this ends. I like the art. I know nobody refers to the interior art. Gotta worry, make sure I get a PG rated page. But yeah, it's pretty colorful. You'd see a lot of emotion in the characters. And yeah, so like I said, it did a good job setting the stage, and I'm looking forward to the other issues. A lot of Aftershocks comics have ended at 5, but I don't know. I like to see this one go on for a while. So.
Okay. All right. I'm hoping you didn't make fun of me while I was distracted by Weird Al. And I'm excited to go back on that interview and check it out.
I did now.
Yeah.
Well, I will get that issue in the mail, and then I'll be listening to your review after that. Okay, that will do it for the weekly reviews, but stick around. We've got some news for you. All right.
La 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 la, can't hear you or see you.
Yeah, so that review was one half of The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota, because it's like a 7-minute song.
This is that Punisher short cover that I was talking about.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no, that's not the Max one I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's not the Max. It's a Marvel one, number 11.
But yeah, well, a lot of stuff that actually happened in the Max universe, I guess, still carries over somewhat, at least before the whole Secret Wars thing kind of rebooted it.
No, I've liked all the Max comics I've read so far.
Yeah, have you read like the Max Punisher?
The Howard the Duck, I have some Punishers. I haven't read them yet because I'm waiting to see if I have them all or not. And then can't remember the other one I read not long ago. I'm reading too much crap.
Was it Soviet? That's the Punisher one that came out a while ago. That was another Garth Ennis Max one. I know Garth
Or
Ennis.
Blade was the other one I read.
Because I know Garth Ennis, he does a lot of black comedy, but when he does the Punisher Max, yeah, he basically brings him into the real world. You don't see much superhero in the Max line.
Yeah, I like how they get a little deeper, more darker.
I think one of the best part. Now we're not recording right now, right?
Not for the podcast, but for David's Under the Cowl.
But yeah, one of the best lines from Soviet is when the Punisher just calls a guy a rear echelon motherfucker. And it's like, you get to see one of the things that pissed Frank off about in the military, just he gets to let loose on that. So, good stuff.
All right, we will jump into the news here for the final segment. We are recording. Welcome to the news section. We are going to cover the Marvel and DC previews for products coming out in November and beyond. Next week, we'll cover the independents, publishers, as well as merchandise and apparel. All right, my first pick, I will start with Marvel. Eternals #1, as you see, is the cover of their preview catalog. Never die, never win, Eternals. What's the point of an eternal battle? For millions of years, 100 Eternals have roamed the earth, secret protectors of humanity. Without them, we'd be smears between the teeth of demon-like deviants. Their war has waged for all time, echoing in the myths of nightmares. But today, Eternals face something new, change. Can they, or anyone on Earth, survive their discovery? This I'm excited for. There is an Eternals movie that is up and coming, originally scheduled for November. Now it's kind of slated for February-ish. We'll see what happens with all that. But usually whenever there's a Marvel movie coming out, if there's a series that isn't a normal ongoing for them, they like to kind of breathe new life into it, kind of like what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy and things like that. But this creative team, we have Kieran Gillen and Esad Ribic, which is a pretty awesome combination based off the characters created by Jack Kirby. I haven't read many of the Eternal stories. I had picked... What's that?
Did you say Kieran Gillen, as in the Doctor Who Kieran Gillen, Nebula
Kieran Gillen. Very close.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's not a Karen.
Okay.
Maybe that's the male version of Karen we were talking about pre-podcast is Kiernan. Or Keenan, maybe. Okay, so here we go. So I haven't read many Eternals. I had started picking up a couple back issues when I was at the Comic-Cons back when those were a thing. And I have not read them yet because I usually kind of pile up some of that stuff. And then after we see a trailer and we get a release date, I kind of get into the Eternal spirit or whatever movie's coming out there. But yeah, these characters I've only read if they crossed over into like Silver Surfer comics and stuff. They appeared here and there. But yeah, this is something I'm excited for just because it's another thing to kind of build hype for a movie starring a bunch of more so unknown characters, not only to the movie universe, but to me as well when it comes to the comics. So there's a couple samples of the preview art in the catalog there, and I think there's maybe 627 variant covers, so feel free to shop some variant covers if you want one of those. But yep, my pick is Eternals #1. David, anything from Marvel?
Oh, I don't do new issues anymore. I'm just back issue guy now. So yeah, haven't even looked.
Okay, fair enough. Let's jump over to Kirby.
I want to check out this Wolverine Black, White, and Red. #1. It's the mysterious mutant has gone by many names and lived many different lives. Now experience all new untold tales of the best there is through the lens of an all-star cast of creators in the unadulterated black and white format with a healthy splash of blood red all over. Return to the Weapon X program with Gary Dugan and Adam Kubert and a new revelation from Wolverine, Shattered Memories. Join Matthew Rosenberg and Joshua Cassara on an explosive deep cover spy mission from Wolverine's association with Nick Fury. Head into the wilds with writer and artist Declan Shalvey as Logan finds himself in the crossfire of a deadly trap. This is the one you've been waiting for, bub. But yeah, I like when they do the black and white with just the blood splatter effects in there and stuff. So cover looks cool. Got to get it, at least for the cover.
Well, cool. Katie.
All right, so I have a pick from Marvel I'm super excited about. It is the next Star Wars Legends Epic Collection, and this is the beginning of Tales of the Jedi. So Tales of the Jedi Volume 1. This is going to take place 25,000 years before the Phantom Menace, and this is covering Dawn of the Jedi, Force Storm, Dawn of the Jedi, Prisoner of Bogan, and Dawn of the Jedi, Force War. Now, I'm really pumped for this, not only because I'm reading the Epic collections, but also because I have wanted to read these comics for 3 years, and I just never got a hold of them in a compiled version, and I'm now excited to do so. And then kick off the Tales of the Jedi run, which is very much beloved. And I really like the writers on this too. So it is $40, just like most of the other Epic collections.
All righty. Jump over to Jim.
I have nothing from Marvel this month.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah, me neither. Basically, just my pull list for Marvel.
Fair enough. I will jump over to the fact that there is a lot of Vision and Scarlet Witch stuff that is going on, as that is a Disney Plus series that we are anticipating, currently slated for December. I know they did go back to start filming some of the other stuff during the COVID times here to kind of figure out to kind of finish up whatever they had started. So right now it is set for December, but for November and December, there's a lot of reprintings of their trade paperbacks of several mini-series and stuff. So if you want to learn more about Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, and Vision, this is a good way to pick up some newly printed trade paperbacks. Kirby.
Other than the Eternals and the ongoing Shang-Chi, that's all I can find in Marvels.
Okay. And then Katie?
I'm interested in the Widowmaker series. It's about the Red Guardian, and that's going to tie into the Widow movie, so it's fun.
Cool. There is a spotlight on Native American Heritage Tribute variant covers by artist Jeffrey Verhey, maybe? The story of a hero is an ancient one, starting with the very first cave drawings. Artists and writers from across the globe have both captured and shared the fateful acts of their people's heroes. Being from the Pacific Northwest, my own people, the Sakalam tribe, have used the art style known as formline to record and share the stories of our people since the time immemorial. The art style I use in my own work today is an extension of the same shapes and forms used for hundreds of years by native artists from and around the very same region. So if you are following any of the series, there are options for a bunch of variant covers. There's a couple that I am getting, a few that I'm getting that I'm not reading the book at. If you are watching the video feed here, you see a nice display here, and pretty sweet looking designs there. A couple of them I really dig. So yeah, I'm kind of scooping up a couple of these. But yeah, I thought it's kind of a pretty neat looking cover there. So that is celebrating the Native American Heritage Tribute covers coming this November. And I'm trying to remember who was all finished. Anyone else yet?
Well, did you mention with the Eternals also that there's like 25 different covers?
627. If you check the tape, yep, there are 627 variants. So, yeah, one for everybody in your town, on your neighborhood block. So yeah, any other?
Yeah, I just want to throw in there and say I'd also be interested in the Eternals, and then after that, I'm done.
Cool. I'm done as well. Anything left for you, Kirby?
Nope.
Okay, that will do it for the Marvel. We will jump over to DC. David, in the same boat? The DC
Same thing,
going?
yeah. Yep, same thing.
Okay. Kirby.
I've been slowly hearing more and more good things about this Dark Knight's Death Metal. So I'm going to start out by checking out the Dark Knight's Death Metal Infinite Hours Extreme One-Shot. Yeah, pull up a chair, you stitches. It's time for Uncle Lobo's Infinite Hour. It's your chance to let the main man, Lobo, lobotomize you with familiar yet freaky stories of the DC Universe, exactly as he remembers them, with blood and guts and extreme gratuitous violence. Tell your comics guy to put you down for all the copies. But yeah, I figured that's a good one for me to jump into, see if I like the death metal run.
Cool. Jump over to Katie.
Thank you so much. So actually, thank you again, because I am interested in the Sweet Tooth Return series, which Anthony, you've spoken of quite highly to me. So I'm actually pretty excited to give this one a shot. I've loved what Jeff Lemire did with Black Hammer, so I would definitely like to read Sweet Tooth The Return #1.
Yeah, Jeff Lemire is a pretty solid choice across the board, and this is something that is in development at Netflix with participation, with the producing credit, I think, with Robert Downey Jr. I'm not sure if he's going to have any role in the series at all, but he is brought on as a producer. But yep, this
very
is
nice.
A way to bring back the series and spark new interest and gear up for the potential show. All right, let's jump over to Jim.
All right, I do have a couple from DC. The first one I'm going for is The Other History of the DC Universe #1. This is written by John Ridley, the filmmaker and writer. And a series is going to be about some of the underrepresented DC heroes, like the Black, the Latino heroes that are generally have been underrepresented in comic history. And it's going to be retelling of their stories. The first one is going to cover Black Lightning, and other ones that are going to be included will be Renee Montoya, I heard, and Tatsu, who is the Japanese samurai woman. What's her name? Why am I blanking on that?
Kabuki.
Katana?
What?
Katana?
Anthony? Katana. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's and the other characters. And for this one, I'm actually going. Normally, I pick the #1 cover, but I'm going with the variant, which has a pretty cool rendering of like a classic Black Lightning, 70s type outfit, but a little updated, where he's got the deep V cut in the middle, So
All right.
This one was actually talked about, I think, about a year ago, and it's finally making it to print. So
Speaking of Black Lightning, I forgot to mention on that Action Comics one, there was an editor's note about things that were going on. It took place at the same time as the first issue of Black Lightning.
So 1977?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Eric, any picks from DC?
Well, I don't know what people discussed before, but I definitely saw that recently DC's putting out a new Rorschach, which, I'm definitely looking for. He's one of my favorite Watchmen. Obviously, this takes place, I guess, post-Watchmen, so this probably isn't Walter Kovacs, but still.
Spinning out of Doomsday Clock, I assume?
No, not a lot of information. Because I kind of looked at it, I thought maybe it was, and I can't remember the name from Doomsday Clock, but I don't think it's that
Yeah, I think this is too
Rorschach.
soon after the Watchmen, so I think that would be the best way to go, especially since we know all about the Rorschach from the Doomsday Clock. So
Yeah, I'm subscribed to that one too. I'm excited.
That was Reggie from the
From Archie.
Doomsday Clock.
Reggie.
Reggie Long, I think. From not Veronica Long, Reggie Long.
All right. I actually don't have any new DC picks. They're all just ongoing series. So jump over to Kirby.
Another Dark Knights Death Metal multiverse one is Who Laughs one shot. I got to get that just because it's got all the super pets in it. Looks like they might be zombified or something. So gonna have to check that one out.
Excellent. Katie?
Okay, there is a Dollar Comics reprint of The Sandman, number 23. That looks good for $1. I'd do that. And that's going to be my last pick for DC, aside from any club picks.
Okay. Jump over to Jim.
All right, my last DC pick is the Punchline Special One Shot. And this is kind of not directly a tie-in to the Joker War, but related to the Joker War, as Punchline is coming from that story. And this is basically the origin story for that character, Punchline. And bonus for me, the art is by one of my favorite current artists, Mirka Andolfo.
Cool. Eric?
yeah, my last pick, again, I'm guessing Jim might have done this one, is White Knight presents Harley Quinn. Don't know if, like I said.
I think Katie mentioned now, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Are they resoliciting, or is it just the next one in the series?
I guess it's the next
It's
one.
the next one in the series.
It's
Very
I haven't
nice.
It
been
actually
around.
premiered
I've
last
been around
month, yeah.
lately, so,
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it if you read it.
So, other than that, my basic pull list.
Okay. Kirby?
The last two I got to mention are they have two more one-shots that I might check out because I'm not big on DC, but they got Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Batman Hush one-shot, and Tales from the Dark Multiverse, the Flashpoint one-shot. Those I'd probably check out.
All right, cool. And I think that was everybody, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
That is.
Okay, that will do it for another episode of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. A little news update for the Under the Cowl news feed. If you subscribe to that, you will start seeing the original episodes of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club show up on there, as we are going to attempt to merge the feeds. We have the pro account over on the other feed there, so we'll continue uploading on here for a while. I'm going to start dumping them on there. I don't want to just do a lot right at one punch, because if you are subscribed, they might just start downloading the next morning or whenever you check your feed. But just be on alert that you may get like 5 of them at a chunk every couple days or so, because we are going to be nearing the 150th episode of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club in just a few short weeks. So, but yeah, so if you're not subscribed over there, you can subscribe, start getting those old episodes, which we're unable to keep on this free account, which will eventually, we're just going to convert to the other one. So that's just a word to those podcast audio listeners out there. Subscribe and maybe check out some of the old ones and hear what we talked about a couple years back. I'm not re-listening to them, so who knows what we said. So,
and that also means that this will be the first time that the club podcast will be available also on Spotify.
Yay!
Good. And then, I think that should do it then for this issue. This entire time, by the way, I've got something to say because I've been as wobbly as a crumpet on a needle.
I've been Franken-Castle's second biggest fan.
I am not a madman or a nut.
I'm getting a job as a Jedi ambassador.
Can I kill them for real, mommy?
Let's do the time warp. Wait, wrong, Frank.
To be continued on the Franken Castle podcast.